Chairperson Morales?
Here.
Chairperson Turner?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Very good, thank you. The second agenda item is public presentations. This portion of the agenda is reserved for persons desiring to address the committee on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the committee on matters not on the agenda? It appears there are. Is there? Anyone online? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
There's no one online, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Item 3, orders of the day. Do any of my colleagues on the committee have changes to the agenda? All right, any changes from staff? There being none, do I have a motion to approve the orders of the day? Motion by Member Klein. Second by
I'll second.
Member Blankley. Thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you, Deborah. Now for the regular agenda, item 4. This is an action item to approve the regular meeting minutes. Do we have any of my colleagues on the committee have comments or changes to the meeting minutes? There being none, do we have a motion?
Is there public comment?
That's not on here to discuss.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to?
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you so much. We'll go to item 5. This is to receive reports from Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority and Council of San Benito Government's staff.
Good morning. My name is Casey Emoto. I'm the Chief Engineering Program Delivery Officer at VTA, and so I'll start off with the report and alternate with Benito on some of the items that we wanted to share. So the first item is the VTA 2016 Measure B sales tax measure. So as of August, I guess, we've collected just under $1.8 billion from that sales tax measure. And for the most recent period in August, it was about $24 to $25 million.
Good morning, board members. I'm Binu Abraham. I'm the Executive Director for San Benito Council of Governments, and happy to see you all. On the sales tax front, San Benito has a sales tax that we successfully passed in 2018 called the Measure G, and we are expected to generate about $485 million through the life of this plan. It's a 30-year plan. About 50% of it is dedicated for the improvement of Highway 25. And then the rest is divided among the local projects, transit, and other projects. So as of June 2024, we have collected $59.4 million.
All right, I have the next part. So high-speed rail, we don't have an update, but at the next mobility partnership meeting, we're planning to have an update from high-speed rail staff. In terms of other funding, one of the things you all know about is the community project funding grant that we had requested through Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren's office. We had requested $2 million to study express lanes down to the 1125 interchange. We've reported on it before. We got $500,000, so we're short funding. There was a meeting that was held with City of Morgan Hill staff on August 16th. We're still trying to figure out how to get the rest of the funding we need to get the project going, but that is an ongoing discussion. That's the progress we've made on that. Next item is that in the Bay Area, as part of the Regional Transportation Improvement Program development process, there is an update for what's called Plan Bay Area 2050, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. So we actually have the VTA subject matter expert here, and she's going to be presenting later. So if you have questions on this, we can talk more about it. But we are looking at the Express Lanes program, making sure that the different elements, including the segment down to 25, are included in some capacity in the RTP. This is, I guess, what they're referring to as a minor update. So they're not making a lot of changes. There'll be another larger change in the next round for the RTP update. let's see, so 10125. So I think we have a slide on this. So some good news to report on 10125. So we opened bids in August, and we were pleased to see that we had 6 bids. The low bidder was a joint venture between DeSilva Gates and Viking. It's headed to go to the standing committee meetings this month at BTA and to the board in October at the board meeting for approval. The bid was about 4% below the engineer's estimate, so we were very pleased to see that. And so we're expecting, construction getting started later this fall into the winter, somewhere in that time frame. So at the next meeting, we'll go into more detail on the construction staging and the activities you guys will all be seeing in terms of the construction. So we're very, very excited about this. So next slide. So one of the things I just want to cover real briefly, and we'll get into more of this next time, but just give you an update on some of the things that you all probably already know about. The garlic shop has been relocated. And so we've taken care of all the property matters, so there's nothing related to property matters that are in the way. We are working on a couple of items with PG&E related to relocating utilities, but those will be completed here very shortly. And there were a couple of water wells that we had to replace. And so we have one that has to be completed. It should be completed and certified by November. So these are all things that we're trying to get cleared so that construction on the actual interchange equipment can start in earnest. So that's my report, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
And we cannot talk about 10125 improvement without talking about Highway 25, which is going into the San Benito portion. And that is the next item. We are doing a workshop on that, so I'll save all my comments for that. I do want to include that San Benito is also updating our regional transportation plan, and we are working in conjunction with AMBAG, which is our MBO, equivalent to MTC for VTA. That's underway right now. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions by the members?
Mr. Chair, yeah, no questions. Just when we have the 10125 presentation, I know we have it on, I guess it's on CMAP, but I think that'll be a very large item of interest for both counties, and whatever we can do to get outreach out on that to let people know about that, and maybe even after the fact. We can do our part as representatives, but people have their eyes on that, so it'd be high interest. Thanks.
Yeah, we have a short item on outreach by David Lovato on this agenda too, to kind of get it started. But yeah, we'll have much more as we move forward. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? There being none, how about any speakers from the public? Okay, does not appear to be any. So that is an information item, so no action required there. We'll move to item 6. This is the workshop on 25, project development. I think, Binu, you'll be presenting.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so this is as part of the mini workshop series that we are doing this year to give you a little bit more in-depth background on each of the projects that we are trying, VTA and San Benito is trying to coordinate. Highway 25 is something that's been in the work for a while, and I'm sure you are all familiar with the project and the issues regarding that project and why we need that project. So today I want to just take a few minutes to just go over what are the milestones, how did the project evolve to what it is today. And thank you. So what you're seeing on the screen here is the stretch of 25 that we are talking about. It is not the entire Highway 25, because Highway 25 goes through the entire county of San Benito. We are talking about the northern portion of Highway 25 from about the city limits of Hollister, and that's about San Felipe to the 10125 interchange. That's the entire stretch of corridor that's under consideration. We kind of divided it into segments so that people can understand what segments we are talking about. The first segment, if you can see the orange color on the screen, the southernmost portion, that is a segment from San Felipe to the roundabout that you are all by now familiar with. The second segment is the roundabout itself. because the roundabout was a temporary fix for the safety issues that we were facing there. In future, that roundabout is going to go away and we are going to have an interchange. Third segment is about north of roundabout all the way to the county line. And the final segment is in the Santa Clara County, from the county line all the way to the terminus of 25, which is US 101. Next slide, please. So how did we get here? Just a snapshot of what happened, the evolution of this project. This project, Highway 25 was a safety concern back in 2000 because it's a combination, the people who are using that road, it's a combination of commuters and farm people. So we have farm equipments, which are traditionally slow moving. We have hundreds of driveway that is on this Highway 25, and you're combining that with the majority of people who are commuting out of Hollister to get to Santa Clara for their jobs. So that fast-moving people who are in a rush with the slow-moving farm equipment has always been a safety concern. And so in 2000, a task force was established to see what we can do to address the safety. In 2009, there was a project that was completed called the Safety Project, which actually addressed some of these issues by consolidating a lot of the driveways that was accessing directly onto 25 so that the people are not stopping, slowing, going fast, and get frustrated and then make risky behaviors. So that was done, and in 2016, Caltrans District 5 identified a different alignment for Highway 25 where we can permanently address the issues of the driveway access and the fast-moving commuter traffic. In 2018, we passed the Measure G. I'll come back to that. So I just want to pause at 2016 and go to the next slide so that we can see some of the examples. So this is the safety project that was constructed in 2009. We added K-rails. We added some consolidated driveways, widened the shoulder so that people can pull over. There were a bunch of safety features that was added. These are all steps towards a longer-term permanent solution. But in 2009, there was an immediate need to address a safety concern, so that was done then. Next slide, please. And in 2016, this is what you see on the screen are two alignments. The black line is the existing 25, but kind of parallel to that, you will see the blue line, which is what District 5 identified as the new route or the new alignment for Highway 25 that will address all the issues that existing 25 is having. So on the south side or on the segment 1, it's on the west side of existing 25. And then the roundabout, which we talked about as a segment 2, will become an interchange, which means Highway 156 and Highway 25 will be grade separated. They will not intersect at that point, which is a huge safety gain for us because some of the most incidents happen because there are two really heavy traffic highways are meeting at a point. There is the truck route on 156, it's a major truck corridor, and 25, which is a commuter, which is never a good recipe. So the future alignment will grade separate them so that we can avoid that, that incidents and improve the safety. Then in segment 3, the new alignment will cross over the existing 25 and move over to the northern side. And it will terminate somewhere around the Bloomsfield portion of Highway 25 because the 101-25 interchange will meet with the 25 work that we are doing at Bloomsfield. So once all that is done, we will have an entire stretch of 25 that will be taken care of and all safety concerns will be addressed. So just want to pause here to see if you have any questions.
I've actually got a question. I'm hearing you say that the roundabout is going away. Is this that massive roundabout that was just completed?
Yes, but it may not go away 100%. We will use as much of the roundabout as possible and feed it into the interchange design. we just have to kind of complete the environmental study to see what portion we can use for the interchange and what portion we cannot.
What was the reason for putting that roundabout in the first place?
So, as I mentioned, Highway 25 and 156 triggered a lot of incidents, and at a statewide, we were having more incident than at a statewide average. So the state had to now intervene, and they had to do something to address it immediately rather than wait 20 years for us to make a plan and do something about it. So this was funded as a state project. It was not funded by San Benito funds. It was completely 100% a state-funded project that state Caltrans came in, and they did shop funding, and they built this roundabout.
Still funded by the taxpayers, though.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Very good. Any other questions by members? There being none. Okay. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Okay, let's just have an understanding of what is the role of Caltrans versus what is the role of San Benito COG here. So it's a state highway, which means the owner and operator of that highway system is Caltrans. Its implementing agency is Caltrans, and any environmental study we do, which is either the state or the federal or CEQA or NEPA, the lead agency is Caltrans. San Benito is the sponsor agency, which means San Benito Council of Governments is tasked with finding funding to complete this project. We also operate transit on that alignment on Highway 25. So as the operator of that transit, you probably have seen the County Express, San Benito Council of Governments /LTA, Local Transportation Authority, we run it. So we are a transit agency and a funding agency. We are also a stakeholder and part of the project development team. But I just want to point out, this is a state facility owned and operated by Caltrans. So where are we in the process? The process of environmental study and getting to construction of any state facility is a long process, as we are all familiar. We have completed the project initiation. Right now, we are at the project studies, which include the CEQA and the NEPA analysis. So we are doing the EIR, and we're kickstarting it. It's going to be, we're hopeful that we'll start it before the end of this year. And then once that is completed, we'll go into design and right-of-way acquisition, followed by construction. So that's the process in front of us. Coming back to the evolution of the project, so we talked about how we had a route in 2016. We also discovered in 2016 that we don't have the money to construct this road. So in 2018, the residents of San Benito, they got together, they passed the Measure G, and as I mentioned earlier in my update, 50% of whatever comes in Measure G is allocated for Highway 25 improvement. We are expecting that to be somewhere around $245 million. So that was there in plan. So we have a design, and we have the money to build it. But then a couple of things happened. In 2020, the state changed the rules on how we quantify the impacts of transportation, and we looked at it at last mobility partnership, Senate Bill 743. So instead of level of service or looking at how many cars are on the facility, now we look at how many miles the cars are traveling. So this is the vehicle miles travel that we were talking about last meeting. The issue with changing from level of service to vehicle miles is that for a rural county like ours, the destinations are not close enough as in an urban city where you can start, travel 2 miles and reach your destination. It's a farming community. You have to travel miles and miles before you get to destination. So if you look at the impacts, there's going to be a lot of vehicle miles that's going to be traveled on Highway 25, which translates to you have to have a considerable amount of money to mitigate the impacts. In other words, the cost of this project is going to shoot up. And then in 2021, the state had another policy called CAPTI, or Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure, which shifts how we get funding. So instead of looking at it through, is this a capacity project, is it a widening project, now the state is looking at it from the lens of what have you done other than looking at just widening a project to see if there are other solutions you can use here rather than just widening. Because what the state is finding out is that they don't have enough funding to maintain the roads that gets widened, and congestion is not reducing just because you widen the road. It will in the short term, but over a period of time, that congestion is going to come back. So the state wants every agency to look at what are some of the other things we can look in addition to widening or on top or instead of widening before they allocate funding. So what this translates to Highway 25 is that we have a hard time finding competitive funding. So we talked about this in detail at the last meeting, so I don't want to go too much into 743 and CAPTI, but if we can go to the next slide, I can just briefly summarize it. 743 was signed into law in 2013, but we had about 7 years to before it was adopted. And then the idea is reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and reduce the reliance on personal vehicles and rely more on multimodal solutions. Next slide. As I mentioned, this changes how we quantify the impacts from level of service to how many vehicle miles are getting traveled on the particular roadway. Next slide. So the Climate Action Plan, this was adopted in 2021. Again, the focus is to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and improve the air quality, improve the public health and equity. So that's the focus, and climate resiliency. That's the focus of CAPTI. Next slide, please. How it impacts us is now everything is looked through the lens of CAPTI Alliance before we get funding. Next slide. So let's just break down the funding part right now. Measure G will generate about $242 million over the life of this program. But when I say life of this Measure G started in 2018. So if we wait until 2048, we can expect to get $242 million. We don't want to wait until 2048. We want to do it as soon as possible, which means we don't have 242 at our disposal right now. We can look at bonding, which will give us some, but we have to augment that with some kind of leverage funding. So we are looking at state and federal funding to bring in the rest of the money to complete this project. This is where SB 743 and CAPTI plays a big role. Because if you're going to ask state and federal agency for funding, we have to also make sure that we are putting in features that is going to lower the cost of mitigation and improve our chance of getting funding by adding some multimodal options. Next slide. So what does the state and federal look at when they are granting funding? One, are we addressing anything to mitigate or minimize the climate change and reduce the number of vehicles that's been traveled? Two, are we creating opportunity for the underserved or disadvantaged community? Those are the two lenses that we need to use when we are looking for funding. Next slide. And what that means is the state and federal agencies are looking for, are you putting investment in bus and rail transit services? Next slide. Are you providing solutions that directly improve safety and reliability of travel? Rather than saying, oh, we want all these cars to get through, they want us to know that when you are starting from your origin, can you reliably say that you can get to your destination in X amount of time? If that's going to be 15 minutes today and 1 hour 45 minutes tomorrow, that is unreliable. So that's what they're looking at. So some of the components, and again, this is not the only components, these are suggested things to look at as part of the solution. Transit solution, multimodal, managed lane. Managed lane could include anything like HOV, toll facility. I know a lot of it is not applicable for rural facilities, so it's not a prescriptive thing. It's something they encourage people to look at. Next slide. So here are some examples of what that looked like. Transit solution would be bus on shoulder projects. Can we put an express bus? Is there a way we can build mobility hubs so that it's not just one transit, but you have a place where people can get off from? So for example, coordinate with at the Gilroy station where people from Hollister can get off the Hollister bus and get on Caltrain or some other facility instead of people having to figure out how to get to their final destination. So then the goods movement project, that gets looked at electric vehicles. Can we have charging stations and networks for reducing the emissions, things like that. Next slide, please. So that's what we have to deal with today. And the next steps for this project is, the first one is environmental studies. As I mentioned, we are starting it right now. We're also actively doing a public engagement and outreach because we need people to understand what we are dealing with. Some things we have to address what the state wants us to address. And if we get to a solution that can bridge all the state wants and what we want, and we are successful in building funding, this project will go smoothly without any interruption. To the extent we have to actively engage the public and let them know. And if we find that we cannot get all the things we need that the state is saying, we still show that we have done our best estimate or good faith effort. The third part we have to do is we have to look at Measure G and maximize the cash flow so that we have maximum amount of money readily available when we want it. The final option, the biggest challenge, is to secure the funding. And I will pause here, take any questions, comments, feedback.
I've got a question for you. So 25, in the effort or your desire to widen 25, I'm assuming to 2 lanes in each direction?
Yes.
Okay, and so one of those lanes, there aren't many options. And so if one of them is going to be, HOV lanes or some sort of express lane, you sort of dedicate one lane to that.
Right. So we can look at things like, can a dedicated HOV lane or a bus lane help us if we are doing 4 lanes? Or maybe perhaps we can look at, what if we look at 3 lanes, one of those lanes being a reversible lane? So there are some creative ways we can look at things. The ultimate point is not to build that, but to look at it, to do analysis to come to a point whether we can say this is feasible or not feasible.
Got it. Okay, very good. Any other questions? Please go right ahead.
Binu, thank you. The one thing that was new information, because I've heard you do this before, and I understand all of the challenges that we've had, but the one piece that I wasn't aware of is I knew about Senate Bill 743 and CAPTI. That was passed in 2013, but we had 7 years before it was in place. That gave us until 2020. I know you weren't here, so if you can't answer this, I completely understand. If we had completed the CEQA NEPA process and the EIR process by 2020, where would we be? Would we be in better shape because of CAPTI, or would we be in the same position that we are now? I'm trying to get my head wrapped around the history.
Okay. So in 2013, like you said, the bill was passed, and it gave 7 years for anybody who is in the process of doing the environmental to complete that study and get it adopted. So if you had completed a CEQA NEPA study before 2020 and had that adopted, then you don't have to reopen it and go back and re-evaluate it based on Senate Bill 743. So you get to do it the old way. However,
I just wanted to understand.
However, I want to add to that, that if you are looking for funding, you are still competing with people who are looking at it through the lens of CAPTI. And suddenly, when you widen it to 4 lanes and you are saying, I need X amount of dollars for widening my project, and there are all these other projects coming in, well, we are not widening, we are just putting a bus lane. Your project doesn't look as as competitive.
Appealing.
Yes.
Yes, makes sense, totally makes sense, but understanding that it could have put us in a better place than we are right now, because I feel like what's happened is we've literally had the rug pulled out from under us and we're starting all over, and we're looking at it through a completely different lens than what we could have done, and then possibly the competitive funding could have maybe been better negotiated with our current representatives.
Yes.
Okay, just wanting to make sure I understand, because that's new news to me. I did not know that, so thank you.
Thank you, Member Carroll. Anyone else?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I mean, the main theme here, I think, in reality is that, we need state legislative help to get this done. Whether we're talking about these VMT cap tie policies and how we get through those hoops, or whether we're talking about funding, we need both. So we need help on the policies that are working against rural communities like ours. And we need funding help, or else the reality, and the way I see it, the way this trend has gone, is that this highway is never going to get done. I do want to ask, do we have a best and worst case scenario? Everyone wants to know what's the timeline. We had a timeline in the past. A couple years ago, we had a timeline. Maybe it was flimsy, maybe it wasn't. We had cost estimates, and now we have no timeline officially, and the cost has ballooned from $250 million to $600 to $800 million, and who knows what it really is. So, what can we talk about what the best case scenario is for a timeline?
Yeah. We are this close to, I just want to put the caveat that we are this close to doing our environmental studies, which will give you a firm answer on all the questions you asked. When it will be done, how much it will cost. So I don't want to put numbers out there and just speculate, because in a year and a half to two, you will get those numbers. However, I would say that there is a glimmer of hope. One thing I have learned recently is that CAPTI, or the state, finally heard, thank you for all your advocacy and the work that you do, because they have heard it from multiple places that it's not a one-size-fits-all, and rural areas are shortchanged by how the CAPTA is calculated. So the latest news that I heard, and it's hot off the press, so we don't know where it is going to end, is that they are going to look at it from a different lens for rural agencies. So that's the glimmer of hope we have. In the coming years, there would be a different methodology for how they will analyze the vehicle miles traveled and what makes sense for a rural area. One example is if the state is requiring us to look at transit, it takes a lot of money to operate transit on an ongoing basis to completely cover the needs of rural areas, because we don't have the kind of density that an urban area have. So if you see a bus running empty, you get upset because that's taxpayer money and there's a bus running empty. But in a rural area, there isn't the density that will fill up a bus, and we always run a bus that's full. So that's a lot of operating costs that we have to take into account. So now the state is realizing it, and they're looking at it from a different lens. So if we have a little bit more patience, we'll see where this is evolving. All I can say is there's some glimmer of hope.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always said all along this path that, what this really comes down to is that we're a small, when you even talk about the funding wasn't there, we were designated as a quote unquote commuter highway. And to me, it's always come down to the fact that unfortunately, we're a small rural community and we don't have the leverage. You should all be very thankful to be on the other side of that line when it comes to politics, because, I have a feeling that this would have been funded and this highway would have been along the way or finished by now if this was a different county, whether it's Santa Clara or Monterey. And no offense at all to you all, because it's not your fault. To me, that's really what this started with. And then we had unfortunately, we had locals that were butting heads and causing delays. And then all this what I think is radical policy came into place. The policies don't make any sense because, and I'm pro climate, I believe in climate change, But I don't believe in policies that are hypocritical. And, you know, I'm a firm believer by the time this highway's done, it could be 20 or 30 years the way we're going, and we're all going to be driving electric vehicles at that point. So what are we really doing here? And yeah, we'll play the game. We'll do it. We'll study bus and rail, but the bus and rail is never going to happen. And we're not. Who's going to pay for the rail? It's not realistic. It's just unfortunate. So I will just say again, my main point is that we need state help, and we need it now. And we can't afford to take more years off of this timeline doing these studies. We need state help to change the policies, address these CAPTI and VMT policies that work against rural communities that make absolutely no sense. And we need money, and we need it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Kosmicki. Yeah, we'll be driving electric vehicles. The problem then will be, can PG&E support it? That'll be the challenge we're going to be facing. Any other comments or questions by members? There being none, we'll open public comment. Any comments from the public?
We do have one speaker online, Chair.
And I think we might have someone in the audience as well who just raised their hand. We'll go to the, can we do the person present first, and then we'll go online?
Sure.
Just really quick, clarification on 25, because
right at the base of that, can we turn the mic on? Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Just clarification on the roundabout first is I've been coming to some of these meetings, especially COG meetings, and I don't think everybody here has been new, I think. But on the roundabout, it was miscommunication between Caltrans and the board of COG, because the safety aspect of 25 and the roundabout, the county wanted to go ahead and put the bridge in. And Caltrans was well aware of that, but they weren't including the board in on, hey, let's get everything together for the bridge. We'll give you the money. They just went ahead and started doing the studies, and they put the roundabout in before, you know, so that's 15 million or whatever wasted. And then I'll come back later for 101.25, I guess, at a later, some more stuff to add to it.
okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have a comment online.
Yes, we do. Public comment, the person with the 408 number, you may speak now.
Are they there?
Hello, public comment.
Okay,
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I always get tripped up by Zoom telling me to unmute as I'm trying to unmute. Good morning, this is Doug Muirhead, Morgan Hill resident. Just a process comment. The agenda packet posted last week had no staff report for this item nor the next two. And the background only says presentation will be provided at the meeting. The packet has not been updated, and you do not have a web agenda outline with supplement. So I could not prepare for the meeting or see this presentation or the next two. Mayor Blankley gave a shout out for this meeting at her Saturday coffee, so I thought I would check it out, and it has been quite informative. I appreciate that, but I do wish you'd make the presentations available in advance. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Any other comments?
There are none.
There being none, we'll close the public comment, and this is no action required. We're receiving this information. Thank you for the presentation. Move to item 7, information item workshop on California System Investment Strategy, and Marcella Renzi with VTA will be doing the presentation.
Let me go.
You choose. We'll let.
Your mic there.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I do tend to speak kind of softly, so if I drip off, no.
That means you carry a big stick, is that correct?
I wish.
Also for people listening though online, so that's the importance of the mic, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. And this was postponed from last time. So first, let me give credit to the Caltrans Department of Planning because they did such wonderful slides that I simply took theirs and used them for this presentation almost without alteration. And I think I use these as handy references, so I hope they're useful to all of you and anyone who is online. So this first slide is really just kind of giving some context for CSIS. And since Binu already went into CAPDI in a bit of depth, I'm not going to really spend any time on it. So next slide. There we go. Okay. So CSIS, the California System Investment Strategy, is thank you. All right. Essentially, it's the implementation piece of CAPTI. And I will go quickly to the next slide, which shows, how it's supposed to nest within all the other things we're dealing with. So it's a way for Caltrans to figure out where to support projects for the state to figure out where, based on CAPTI principles, to invest state funding. And it's intended to apply to requests for Caltrans partnership, Caltrans support for federal discretionary programs, obviously state programs, and a lot of the planning and pipeline alignment that we all do. So what it is not supposed to do is prevent local partners from independently applying to federal discretionary and state programs. So this CSIS doesn't prevent any of us from going ahead and applying to any of the many IIJA bill solicitations that you see. What it does potentially do is limit where Caltrans is going to focus its support. So for many of these programs, we go out and we request the district to provide us with support letters or other assistance, and CSIS is the framework that they use to determine which projects they're going to support and when. So, there we go. So in CSIS is only part of what the state does when they're looking at supporting projects. First, they take a look that the project actually is a fit for the program for which it is being proposed. And then they look at the CAPTI alignment metrics. And the combination of that is the score it gets under the CSIS evaluation. So practically speaking, if a project is 100% aligned with CAPTI and its principles, but it has nothing to do with the program you're applying for, well, it's a fail on the CSIS evaluation, and vice versa. So the alignment metrics are here, graphically, and I'll run through those quickly. Sorry, a little bit off here. The ones I'm going to call out are actually accessibility. I find what they're really looking at here, as Binu said, is a measurement of what destinations, what the people on the system will be able to access in a given amount of time. So if right now in your project area where you have a problem, in 30 minutes, your folks can access 100 potential jobs, 2 schools, and a supermarket. And following your project, either that takes only 15 minutes or they can access double the amount of destinations in the same amount of time. That's really what's being measured. The DAC accessibility focuses on disadvantaged communities. And I'm also going to call out the disadvantaged community traffic impact because it has a very important component to it. Where if your project isn't reducing necessarily vehicle miles traveled, but is moving that traffic outside of a disadvantaged community, you actually receive credit underneath this metric. These metrics do not always work together. And there's no expectation that any single project is going to score highly on all of them. That's something that is built into the program. So what the metrics are doing and the CSIS evaluation is doing is it's actually looking at all these desirable things and it's helping to weigh them against each other, so that in the end, the score reflects how an individual project is coming out, weighing all of these different elements against each other. So here you can see the 10 guiding principles and how those are getting translated into the alignment metrics. The majority of these are quantitative with a couple of qualitative shown by the diamonds. So the public engagement, the climate adaptation, and resiliency. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we have, in Santa Clara County, have been experiencing this at the ground level as the state has been developing the system over the last 2 years. Because the final CSIS was only published about a month or so ago. But this first started cropping up after the adoption of CAPTI about 2 years ago. And at that point, when my team, in pursuing grant funding for Santa Clara County projects, was going to Caltrans both to seek nomination for the SB1 programs where Caltrans needs to nominate the project, or for support letters, we started being asked a lot more questions about the projects. And a lot of them had to do with PMT, they had to do with active transportation, and an increased emphasis on public outreach and disadvantaged communities. And as we started to see more and more of the CAPTI be revealed and development of CSIS, it started to make more sense why these questions were being asked. The most recent examples I can give are actually for the current SB1 round, which is going to be covered a little bit in the next item. So right now, the calls for projects for the Solutions for Congestion Corridor Program, the Trade Corridor Enhancements Program, the Local Partnership Program are all open. The Solutions for Congestion Corridor Program requires a nomination by either your Regional Transportation Planning Agency, which SVCOG is one, and MTC is ours in Santa Clara County, or Caltrans. And TSIP, while you can go independently, it is best to go with one of those two, and hopefully both. Caltrans actually opened, it was almost a year ago in October, started taking nominations at the district level for Caltrans' slots to submit for these programs. So we have, as of today, gotten 4 rounds of questions and have been submitting information for 2 different projects. The first one, which you probably care a little bit less about, was 2 Caltrain grade separations on the peninsula in Santa Clara and San Mateo County. And the second one is the second phase of 10125, the Santa Teresa extension. I'm looking at Mayor Blankley, because this may be a project in which she has some interest. So we have yet to get the final CSIS scores on those. I actually talked to the District 4 Planning Office Chief yesterday, so he's waiting for that. But we do have a tentative recommendation from headquarters that Caltrans will sponsor both of those. And I'll go a little more into that in the next item. What surprised me when we got our draft CSIS scores is, 1, how low they were, and 2, that our highway project actually scored better than the Caltrain grade separations. Because, looking at these metrics, I would have assumed that the one that dealt with transit in a more urbanized area with a lot more high-density development and active transportation around it would have done better, but it didn't. So that, showed me as a practitioner that the department really is looking at context and the program that you're aiming at and the problem that needs to be solved. And it also illustrated something they had been telling us, which is something I touched on a little bit earlier, that there's no expectation that a single project is going to do well in every single category. So it's really a series of trade-offs. And the Santa Teresa extension, does well on accessibility and safety. And as well as, it did very well on those. Whereas the grade separations, I think, did very well on safety and program fit, but did not do well at all on mode change. So with that, I will wrap up my presentation and take questions.
Very good, thank you. Any questions from the members? Member Blank?
Just a thank you for the report. And we've certainly made a very, very, very big effort to get that funding for the Santa Teresa extension. So thank you for that report.
Very good, thank you. We'll open public comment. Any comments from the public?
There are none.
We'll close the public comment. And again, this was information. Thank you. No action required. We'll move to item 8, advocacy and grant opportunities. Looks like, Marcelo, you're back again. Looks like also Manolo will be joining you. Will he be online? Yep. Okay, very good. Welcome, Manolo.
Hello, everybody.
Okay. So Manolo, I'll take the first couple of slides, then turn it over to you. Excuse me. So I guess I got a little bit into this in the last item. Thank you very much. So the TSEP program solicitation is out, was released last month in August. We have a tentative nomination from Caltrans for the Santa Teresa extension. Like I talked to Cameron Oakes, the planning branch chief in District 4 yesterday, and he's just waiting for the final go-ahead from headquarters on this one. So the applications are due on November 22nd, and at least it's my intent to pull together our application working team starting next week. So this next one is actually a slide from MTC, because we've also approached MTC to co-nominate this project. And this is the agenda item that's actually in front of their Programming and Allocations Committee today, in fact, right now. So you'll see that we're there dead center. This round of the TSEP program is covering fiscal years 26 and 27. The project is scheduled to be in right-of-way phase in those 2 years, with construction in 28. So I'm anticipating that we'll be back and requesting the construction funding in the next cycle. So 2 years from now, hopefully someone younger and more energetic will be in front of you making this presentation. And before I turn it over to Manolo, I'm going to make the initial pitch for support and advocacy letters. So ideally, we would hand those in as part of the package in mid-November. While we can have draft language immediately, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to finalize the dollar amounts. So I'm going to make a pitch for considering actually signing advocacy letters without total project costs and asks in them. Because sometimes, the majority of the time, I find that the project costs, as we're working through the grant application, get refined during the process. So when I start and up to about a week before we have to submit, we're still working with that.
So will you do some formal ask? Will you send us a template? I mean, what are you hoping? We're just going to say, how are you going to handle this?
So the way we're going to handle this is a member of our government affairs team, possibly Manolo, will reach out to your staff. And we will provide draft templates.
Okay,
For
perfect.
your use, which we fully expect that you will tailor to something
Very good.
that
Very good. Thank you for
clearly
that. Yep.
reflects your perspective.
Okay. So are you done? And now Manolo, is that?
Yes, I am.
Very good. Thank you so much for your presentation. Manolo?
Hi, good morning, everybody, and I apologize for not being able to be there in person. I'm Manolo Gonzalez. I do government affairs for BTA, for those of you that I haven't met. So yes, we're now going to start talking about advocacy letters. I know many of you are waiting to help with this, and that is great. I appreciate that, and the project team appreciates that. So the letters will be targeted, and they will be tailored to your agency, to your cities, to your stakeholder, and to your community leaders. I'll draft a couple suggested letters for some of you and offer them to you. Then I'll work with you to give them, if you want to do some edits or suggestions or what you would like, and come up with some letters that are powerful enough and also that hit all the right buttons. I'll work closely with Marcella to make sure what is the main topics, what are some of the things that we need to highlight along with the project team, a little bit of information of the background, but really get into the ask and why we're doing this, and a little bit about yourselves, your cities, your agencies, the county, those kind of things I think will be helpful. I just put this slide up with a sample letter that something from last year. So the idea would be is I'll create this, something like this, share it with you. You'll put your signatures, you could put it on your letterhead, and we'll have it all set up for you to do all of that. And like I said at the bottom here, timing is everything. We don't want to get these in too early. We want to make sure that we time it along with what Marcella was talking about, some of the timelines like mid-November when we're turning some of this stuff in. So it gives us a month to really work back and forth on some of these things. My goal is by the end of October that we have a set of letters that are helpful. This is more for quality rather than quantity, in my opinion. So we want to make sure that we have a good number of letters, but it's not just everyone sign on to the same letter and turn it in. That's where I wanted to make sure that these are more tailored.
Very
Next
good.
slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I think we have that. Very good. Okay, next slide here.
Yeah, this is my last slide. Additional advocacy ideas in addition to the letter. I wanted to these are not rocket science. This is, many of you already have done this and done this in the past. This is just a reminder, telling your story, sharing with the delegation, the congressional delegation, inviting them down to come and see at a local level. Many of you have already done that for your cities, and reaching out to your local media, the Gilroy Dispatch, the Benito Link, the Mercury News, some of these ideas to get some information out there. I know that Gilroy Dispatch and Benito Link have already written about these projects, but it's been a while. Now it's time for them to update, get your voice, get your opinions on some of these things. Also, the opportunity is to write letters to the editor. Those always reinforce some of the local media stories on these things. And I'm happy to work with some of you to give some suggestions. With the local media also, I'm happy to work with your PIOs, your city public information officers on how they want to do this. Part of what I'm here is just to support you guys and try to do this. Some other ideas, that lobbying meetings, phone calls, those are less, I think, less useful for this right now because these will, the grants will go in, the package will go in as a packet. So making it clear on a phone call is sometimes very difficult. Phone calls are good when we do have a vote that needs to be done or something really critical, and we could do some emphasis on the votes. But that's something that we could look at afterwards. The one thing we want to make sure is that we all just work together. And I always want to give you guys the latest information and make sure that you guys have that. So those are the two slides I have. And I think and I'm happy to answer some questions.
Very good. Thank you, Manolo. Any questions by the members? There being none, we'll open for public comment. Any public comment on this item?
There's none.
No, we'll close the public comment, and thank you for your presentation. We received the information. No action is required. We'll move to item number 9, also an information item, receive public outreach activities. David Lovato will be presenting.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully your first or second coffee is kicked in. I'm only on one coffee this morning, so we're getting to construction. So I'm actually really excited. David Lovato with VTA Public Outreach. I will be assigned. I'm going to see this groundbreaking, and I want to see the ribbon cutting. I'm really excited about this project. I am a resident of Morgan Hill. So luckily I get off at Cochrane right where we know the bottleneck starts. So I'm always here hearing the conversations, and I'm living through it. So I'm really excited about this project. So I'm here to give you guys an update on the outreach plan that is in coordination with not only Santa Clara County, but also with San Benito County and with our 2 Caltrans districts. So we've already started the ball rolling, making sure that everyone's on board, that there's an outreach plan that's been approved, signed, stamped, and we have a vision of how we're gonna keep everybody involved as far as what's going on, detours, lane closures, construction going on, what roads are going to be more utilized when we have those detours. Those communities need to be aware, because we can't just build it and then everyone just drive through it and not know what's going on. And we have 2 major audiences here. We've got the drivers who are going to be going back and forth, and we've got the community impacted from when Waze, because they tell me where to go, where Google Maps is going to tell you where to go. They need to be aware of why they're seeing more increased traffic. And Gilroy has a plan on how they're going to be repaving those streets, that we're going to see more cars. So sorry, I want to make sure that I stay on focus. I feel like I'm pitching something here, but we're already done. We're going to be doing construction. So let me stay on topic. Like I said, we're already starting to do our coordination with the 2 counties. We're already going to start seeing us out there in community events, pop-ups, or when we're invited to places. Just recently, I attended the National Night Out. Huge turnout. That was great. I always go to Morgan Hill, but I had to commit to Gilroy because this is where the construction's happening, and it was a great turnout. Had a lot of discussion with the community, with our officers, things like that. I was real excited to be a part of that. I just recently attended Coffee with Mayor. We had a great turnout of community members who are now aware of the project or have been aware of the project. I had a lot of conversation, with Gilroy Coffee, not.
Yeah.
But if you want to invite me, I will absolutely attend.
I wonder why I was sitting there alone.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. With Gilroy Coffee, which I can happily attend more of those. But again, look at us as a traveling road show. If we're invited, we will come. If we can't come, we can log in if it's via Zoom. But the more people are aware of this project before we start, then it's an awareness. One of the things I did when we start public meetings is, we've all done home repairs, whether it's a kitchen remodel, living room remodel. For that small portion of time, it's a little messy, it's inconvenient, but it looks beautiful at the end. That is what we're doing here. It's going to be a little inconvenience. We're going to have to do some lane reductions for safety of the crew during construction. I don't have all the details yet because we don't have a contractor on board, but it's just part of the construction of a highway project. I was luckily just able to finish, and we did a ribbon cutting of 101, the 101 Dela Cruz. That was about a 2-year project, and now we're finished, and I'm looking forward to this one. So just to let you know, we have 2 project web pages up and running. The reason why we have 2 project web pages, because we have essentially 2 projects going on at different phases. 10125, we're breaking ground hopefully this year. And that means that we have to have community meetings before breaking ground. We also have the Santa Teresa Road Extension Project webpage up and running, because those audiences need to be aware of where we're at in the sequence of that project, because I know, especially in the city of Gilroy, heavily invested in making sure not only that project happens, it's funded, but it gets completed as soon as possible so that we have that great extension from 25 all the way to Santa Teresa Road for our Gavilan College students, who my boys are going to eventually go to. All right. We want to encourage everybody to subscribe. The way we have it is if you subscribe to one project, you'll be automatically subscribed to the other, because we want to make sure that that audience stays the same throughout this entire project between 10125 and the Santa Teresa Road. So those projects have a subscriber. You'll be notified. One of the things we do now is we notify our audience of the mobility partnership meetings. We want to make sure that everyone in the audience is aware how the sausage is made. And so we're only focused right now on 10125, but there's a larger vision that our audience needs to see. So our audience, those who subscribe will also be notified of mobility partnerships, and hopefully we get a little bit more, not physical attendance, but virtual attendance as well. We have fact sheets translated in multiple required languages, and those are available where we can either drop them off at City Hall. They'll be available at the library. I think we just dropped off some the final map boards at City Hall. We can have them at City Hall in Gilroy as well. We can drop them off, and we have them in Gilroy, but we can easily give them to Morgan Hill. So those collateral material can be made available, because I don't know about you, but I'm a visual learner. You can tell me all about the different roads you're going to work on, but unless I see it, it goes right over my head, because I am not an engineer. I'm a talker. All right, so the kind of next steps we're talking about, pre-construction activities. So we don't have dates yet. I want to make sure that's very clear. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to have in-person meetings. VTA is going to host a VTA meeting. Likely the best spot would be the county library in Gilroy. We're also going to be hosting a Zoom meeting. We want to make sure those who can't come virtually, those who can't come in person can come virtually. We're also going to be working with San Benito County. They are going to be hosting a town hall and be inviting VTA as guests. So VTA will be going to that town hall. Looking forward to that. We're going to have, and at those meetings, we're going to discuss the construction schedule, what it's going to look like, how everything's going to be sequenced, what you can expect to see. Because it's important, as you know, that there's going to be certain permanent road closures, and we need to know exactly when those roads, Castro Valley Road, Mesa Road, those are roads that we all use, I use still now, that I've been practicing all summer. Okay, if these roads are closed, how am I going to get to Gavilan, because my boys have been doing golf over there? So we've got to make sure we know those, what to expect, roadwork activities, the temporary detours, all of that is going to be up for display at these meetings. So this is not going to be a style of just you're going to be talked to, presentation, any questions. We want these meetings to be very interactive. We're going to have our team there to answer questions of what is being built, why it's being built, here's the detours to expect, and what we're going to be doing to make sure that everybody is aware of this project as it goes forward. I think I already gave this information to you guys at the last meeting, but again, we're always going to be reviewing our stakeholders, who we need to be coordinating with, who I need to be coordinating with in Santa Clara County, and who we need to make sure in San Benito County is being coordinated with too. So again, like my role stops kind of at the railroad tracks, but I coordinate with San Benito County to make sure on their end they have the information that they need. For example, San Benito County will have a static website that will have this project information that forwards to the VTA website that will be constantly live information and updates. We're working with our businesses, Chamber of Commerce in both cities, as well as Morgan Hill Unified School District. I believe they had a bus stop off of Castro Valley Road that they had to move up to Santa Teresa Road because they wanted to make sure that the access to that bus route. Gilroy. I know I keep looking at
Exactly.
I'm looking like in the middle of the two of you. Sorry.
I'm thinking, man, we go wait.
Yeah,
That's
sorry.
all right. Hey.
This is what happens when you have too
gets
much coffee
confusing.
leading up to this, but sorry. But I'm working with the school district to make sure that those routes are not affected or that they've already have plans. And I think what they did this year is they made sure that route changed at the beginning of the school year rather than changing it midway through when construction started. So that was good coordination on that. Obviously, our drivers and our commuters, the way we're going to communicate with them is road signage, changeable signs, radio announcements on English and Spanish channels. We're going to have as much signage on the roads as possible, but again, it comes down to subscribers being notified of any types of impacts to their routes. That'll also be funneled through Waze and Google Maps. So I'm leaving my contact information. I encourage not only mobility partnership members, the public, if they have questions, comments, concerns between now or leading up to or during construction, please contact me. They need to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we can get through the remodel as quick as possible because it'll be a beautiful finish at the end. And that is it. Thank you very much. Any
Very
questions?
good. Thank you, David. Any questions by the members? Member Blankley?
Yes, thank you, David. Yes, I want to say a big thank you for coming to the Gilroy conversation and Coffee with the Mayor. Gilroy has the boards, so we've got that up in City Hall for people to see. It was a very nice showing of people. I didn't know how many people to expect, and there were some questions on scheduling. There were some questions on traffic rerouting, but there were really, I thought, mostly questions, especially from people that were attracted to come to the coffee last Saturday, on the final design, which is something that we all know has been set for quite some time, that a lot of meetings led to that. So I want to express to anybody listening to this meeting out there that the way to get answers on that is from the engineers now, because that has been set, and that is what David tried to tell everybody at the coffee. Please do email any questions to him so that he can get that answer, because the final design is what is set by a whole bunch of meetings and a whole bunch of organizations that all get together, and that's been set for quite some time. So right now we're just in trying to get the construction started and informing people about where traffic changes might occur. So wanted to leave it at that.
Very good. Thank you. Member Morales?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Can you give us an update on, I think you mentioned at the last meeting that you were going to be doing a town hall at Gavilan College. If so, how did that go? And then made several recommendations about contacting Santa Clara County as an employer. The supervisors have newsletters that are, they have huge touch points. And then if you had an opportunity to contact either the Labor Council, they represent 101,000 people, that they can disseminate that information. How can you give us an update on that as well?
Yep, so a couple of things. So I think you talked about Gavilan College. Gavilan College is one of our major stakeholders that we're keeping updated on information, especially information that's being shared in mobility, so that they know well aware of what the project's schedule is. They have offered to host a meeting there, and so we're going to take them up on that offer. So it's Gavilan College hosted, VTA speaking, similar to San Benito County. So that is going to be a secondary in-person meeting. So we got the VTA hosted one that's going to be at the library. Gavilan College is offered, and we're going to take them up on that offer to be a host at their site, and then San Benito County. Those are our 3 in-persons. And then, of course, we're going to do a Zoom. Another thing we're going to do that I did not mention is that we are going to have a entirely Spanish version of this of our presentations to the public. They're going to be made available. The slides will be in Spanish. The auditory will be in Spanish, and that will be sent out not only to mobility, but also to put up on the project webpage. You talked about coordinating with elected officials. That is always on our outreach plan. We make sure that information that we want disseminated not only gets to our mobility partnership members asking to do what we call the partner post, but our elected officials who have a wider net. So we always ask, here's the information that needs to be sent out. Can you post it out as well? So that is in the outreach plan, and I can make that outreach plan available to the mobility partnership members if you'd like to see the full extent of everybody that's on our list. You talked about the Labor Council. That is on as one of our stakeholders that, again, will be asking for partner posts as well. So I would love to see everyone that has a newsletter, that information is going to be on there. I'm not sure if I missed anything.
I guess just to make sure that Sylvia Arenas, that there's specific outreach to her because the South County is her area and she has a newsletter. So I understand that it's got a comprehensive list, but I think for South County in particular, like she would be the one to contact.
Yes, she is on our list of who we're going to be asking to add to their newsletters, or not even just newsletters, because sometimes newsletters are they're once a month or things like that. They have social media platforms. Majority of everybody here is on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on something. So we ask for immediate partner posts when we can, not just newsletters. But yeah, newsletters to our electeds is on our to-do list.
Excellent, thank you. There's no other questions from
Mr. Chair, sorry.
Please go right ahead.
I appreciate your positive attitude because I expect residents to have frustration a lot. So I just, in general, what sort of, I'm especially interested in the commuter population, obviously to and from San Benito, but also the Gavilan College population. What sort of, just generally speaking, what sort of delays can we start to expect to prepare for? From
I think the immediate delays would be the major outlets to Gavilan College, which is Castro Valley Road, Mesa Road. I myself take those roads to get there. So it's about informing them of alternate routes that will be in place till Santa Teresa Road is constructed and completed. So that's why Gavilan College is a major stakeholder, that those faculty members, those students continually know, this is the progress of that extension. And that's why we were talking with Mayor Blankley, that Gilroy needs to know exactly where we're at with that project, but also all the major stakeholders. And that's why we've combined the projects as far as notification so that they're fully aware. As far as notification for the students, we're not only working with the faculty, but the student union to make sure that information gets out. So if you're a student at Gavilan College, you get the notifications just like any other notification.
And then, so as far as the 10125 though, because we're talking about both, right? The interchange and
Santa Teresa Road, yeah.
Right. So I would also just don't forget about Monterey County as well. You get a lot of people coming to and from that area from Monterey County. I just happen to drive through there and there's a lot of traffic coming through. So I would keep Monterey County in mind.
No, absolutely. We can reach out to Monterey County, find out who their PIO is and how best to disseminate information to them so they can push that out on their end.
Great. Thank you.
And you'll let Morgan Hill Unified know that they'll be picking kids up at Castro Valley Road?
Not anymore. No, they're Santa Teresa Road.
Great. No. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
no, that's
They're trying to trip me up.
We're just having fun with you now. All right. So with that, we will open public comment. Any comments from the public?
There are none, Chair.
Very good. We'll close public comment. And David, thanks for the presentation. That's just to receive, no action required. We'll move on to item 10. This is to receive Caltrans District 4 and 5 updates. This will be from Nick Sala, Caltrans District 4 Division Chief, and Richard Rosales, Caltrans District 5 Deputy District Director.
Well, good morning, and great to see you guys. I wish I was in person there, but I couldn't make it this morning. So
Today, I will give you a high-level overview of our shop and what's going on in the southern county of Santa Clara. And after the passing of 2024 shop, which was in May, and April and May, and officially in July, there is a heavy investment in District 4, especially in Santa Clara County. I would say around $400 million worth of investment in Santa Clara County. And I would say 75% of this investment actually is within the southern part of the county. So there's a few projects I'd like to highlight. That's going to be going on the same time that Santa Teresa construction is going. So there is a couple of projects down south of 10125. We will repave the roadway and improve safety by installing rumble strips around that area. So we will coordinate with VTA ongoing 101 construction project, make sure minimize all throwaway and public inconvenience. And also we have almost like $200 million worth of a major rehab project north of Monterey Road, all the way, I believe, to Cochrane, which is a major rehab project that will require the reconstruction of a big portion of the roadway. So again, this is going to be a great opportunity for all of us, and maybe we could take along with David when he have an outreach to the communities. We could actually share what's going on in their region. So at least to provide information early on, and we'll provide an opportunity for any potential partnering with the local project, with VTA and other. And with the county. So if there's any projects, so to minimize and throw away any inconvenience, I think we'll be open to that. With this, I want to also congratulate VTA on the 10125 construction. That's great. It's great. I think now it's some of us has been involved in this project for a long time, and reality is I can't wait also to see the groundbreaking at the area. And also, just to, I want to highlight a couple of things that Marcella from VTA pointed out, and I do want to point out the level of collaboration with the county, with the VTA and Caltrans on those nomination of SP1 project, Caltrans District 4. We support all the improvement on our system and improve the safety. So Caltrans and full support of what VTA is, District 4. Of proposing to improve in their region. With this, I conclude my overview. And I attach there is more details of the project's schedule and cost and the funding. Thank you.
We have a quick question for you. You mentioned a project in Morgan Hill at Monterey and Cochrane. Did I hear that right?
In between that, yes, it's this is the rehab project I was referring to, yes.
Okay, I didn't see it on the list here.
It should be. One of the yellow projects.
Okay. All right. I'll look into that a little bit more. Thank you for that. Any questions from, is there another presentation by anyone else?
I believe District 5 also, Richard.
It's just the same.
District 5.
All right. Okay, with that, then, any questions from members? No question from members. We'll open the public comment. Any comments by the public?
I have one card for 10125.
Okay, and that's this item, so please go right ahead.
So this is on still, right? Okay. Really quick, I got a couple items. One is, I know the project 10125 the final EIR was passed in 2013. And just moving forward, because I know it's just the first phase of the whole project, moving forward, I think it would be good for the outreach to engage in the public when it gets closer to get funding or what have you, because a lot of people, I think the questions the other day, they weren't around, maybe some of them weren't around since there's so much time that elapsed. So it'd be good to get some public involvement from there. And the one main thing I'd like to try to stress is the master plan for all the projects, right? Because you got 25, 101, the widening and everything else. But I just don't want to elapse to where we're focused just primarily on getting one thing done with not thinking about others. Because when you think about the 152 realignment, how is that going to affect this project? You know, for instance, is there a lot of throwaway on this project like there was on the roundabout, for instance? And there's a couple other things on this particular project, the 101 culvert going across. You know, if it's not going to be done till later, then it's still going to be prone to flooding. We know that. So I don't know if we could do something about getting that culvert replaced so we don't have the flooding. Second thing is, how could we help the city of Gilroy streets be less impacted once 101 is in place and Santa Teresa comes in, because you still have that choke down period of Carnero Creek, you know, that bridge right before Highway 25. So it goes from virtually 3 lanes plus your Monterey exit. So you got 4 or 5 lanes there that goes down to 2. So that's your choke point. Even if 101-25 gets built and it's done, you still have that choke point for all that traffic going back. So all that traffic, once Santa Teresa is built, is going to be going all the way around onto Santa Teresa, utilizing the city streets. And the one thing that came up at the meeting was a stoplight at on 25, where 101 North comes onto 25, and you have that stoplight there. So you'll have 2 stoplights. And some people didn't understand that. Maybe it could be conveyed a little more better. I reached out to Karsten and you guys earlier and talking about the historical Miller complex over there, but it seems like there's still plenty of area where you could have a 101-25 interchange where you don't have to come up to a stoplight. You know, 101 northbound, where when you demolish the old bridge, that could be your 25 access, and it makes complete sense. So something to also look at, I guess, there. And just to make sure we have sign closures, you know, for Mesa, for Castro Valley, before you even get to those roads, before, you know, by the college or some degree. I mean, right now we have cars that go through our farming fields, you know, because of the traffic backup. And how is that going to be mitigated in terms of you guys going to have a construction fence in there so they can't hop onto the freeway? Would be good to know too. And again, we're here to support and help any way we can. But as neighbors and property owners in the area, in future projects, especially Santa Teresa or what have you, you know, if you guys could help us know what's going on earlier with the design so we could kind of communicate a little better, that would be great. And I think that's all my questions. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Deborah, any other comments?
There are none online.
Very good. We'll close the public comment. And then that, again, just information, unless there's any other comments here by the members, that we'll receive that. Thank you very much. And move to item 11.
Sorry,
there's
there's District 5 updates.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
yes.
Okay, sorry. I had to switch my microphone. I'm sorry about that. My name is Kelly McClendon, and I'm here for Richard to give the District 5 report. Really, the big news was already covered by Benito earlier in the item from SBCOG dealing with the 25 improvement project. For our construction update, the current project that's shown on number 1 here on the page, the 156 improvement. The big update on that is that we're about in the middle of our Union Road detour as far as the schedule goes. So we've got about another month or so. Our schedule is to open that up in mid-October. And so that'll, we're still on schedule for opening up that detour. And then following that, we're going to continue to work on the old alignment of 156 and do some work on that before converting that over to a local road. So that's the update here on number 1. Nothing else on any of the other projects in development other than, we're excited and really looking forward to working with COG on this workshop that Benito Abraham talked about earlier. So that's all I have, unless there are any questions. And I know, I don't know if a question came up a little bit earlier, but I had a mic issue. So if anyone had any District 5 Caltrans questions, I'd be happy to take any.
Yes, we will get to the questions here then. Thank you for your presentation. We have a question, Member Carroll.
Didn't hit it. On the detour at Union Road, currently the stop sign is still on the eastbound after the turn from 156 onto 4th Street. There is still a stop sign there, and I understood previously that that stop sign was going to be covered or not in use so that the flow of traffic onto 4th Street could be more continuous instead of pausing and stopping. And right now, after driving it several times, I see a lot of people are just running that stop sign. So I just kind of wanted to know what the status of that is.
Sure, and I don't know off the top of my head, but I can certainly check on it. So I just want to make sure I have the question correct. So it's the stop sign at 4th, and you're saying that it should be covered or it should not be covered?
During the planning stage for this detour, we specifically requested not only from COG but Mobility Partnership that that stop sign be decommissioned during the detour. What it does is it at the light from 156 where you're going, I guess it would be eastbound, and then you turn onto 4th Street going east into Hollister, there is a stop sign right there that you turn left, and there is no through traffic from my understanding except for potential construction traffic. And during the detour, they were going to try and reroute the construction traffic so that that stop sign could be eliminated. Did I describe that well enough, Binu? Okay.
Okay, so I will double check on that and see what's going on with that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Very good. Member Kuzmicki.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just want to, circle back to just making sure that we're continuing to analyze the flow and what can be done to maximize flow as far as the signals, particularly Mitchell Road and then 4th Street business intersection, because obviously in the morning, you're going to have more emphasis on allowing that 4th Street business intersection traffic to flow, toward the commute toward Gilroy. But then in the evening, I don't know is there a capability of doing that within the technology are those adjustments being made morning versus evening as far as allowing more flow out in the morning and then more flow in? As in having more longer green lights basically at the 4th Street intersection in the evening, and then having more green lights from the 4th Street intersection onto 156 in the morning. Is there a capability? Is that happening? I just want to make sure. I don't know if anybody has that answer or not. Maybe there isn't a capability.
I don't know. But it sounds like it's currently, from the way you're describing it, that's not the way it currently is. So the question is that a possibility for that to be updated or for the signals
for an additional emphasis on it, just considering just to minimize the backlogs as much as possible, just to do it.
Yeah.
So Supervisor, just to confirm, your question was, is there a capability? There is technology that can optimize the flow, and we will look into it. The question here is, because it's at capacity on all direction, how much can we optimize it? But definitely something we can look into.
But I'm obviously biased toward helping our commuters out as much as possible, which would mean more green lights on the way out, more green lights on the way in, if at all possible.
Yeah, there is a way to optimize that flow by direction, but we can report back after we look at it and see what are some of the options.
Appreciate that. And then lastly, there's been talk about once the detour is done, that there will be some level, it's more of a vague reference that's been made, some level of access onto the new 156. And I'm wondering if there can be any clarification as to what that might entail, because people are going to be excited to be able to get on that new highway, and who's going to have access to it, from which direction, sort of a thing. Once that Union detour is done, what level of access is going to open up on the 156?
I think the idea is that we're really close to being able to open up the new alignment as operational. And so the latest info that I have is still on schedule for mid-October for that opening.
For full access to to all 4 lanes, or what? That's what I'm asking.
So Terry is here. She's the project manager for 156, and she's gonna take a stab at it.
Yes, so you were asking about additional information as to how we're going to transition once the Mitchell Road, should I say the Union Road opens.
Yeah, because so the 8 weeks, once the 8 weeks is done, there have been comments about, you should all be excited because we're actually going to open up part of the 156, the new alignment of the 156, which should alleviate some of the traffic congestion overall. So I'm wondering what that entails.
When we transition from the Union Road closure to the Mitchell Road closure, we will be placing 2 lanes of traffic, traffic in each direction onto the new alignment. Although there will be some additional work to open up that second lane on the new alignment, but we will be transferring everything from the existing 156, I think from Bixby all the, I believe it's the whole route, onto the new.
So 2 of the 4 lanes will be open is what you're saying.
Exactly.
And we'll still have access to the existing 156, which will be a county road eventually.
You will have access to part of the existing 156 because we're going to transfer construction to the 156.
Right. And how long will the construction on the making our county road nice and modern?
You're talking how long will the construction?
Yeah, as long as we're on that. How long, yeah.
I think that process is going to go through the end of the project. So I think our project's slated to end in fall of 2025.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
And we can actually present more information to you at our next meeting.
Our commuters would be very, very interested in knowing specifically, at least estimates of how much the current congestion is going to be alleviated once the detour is done. Okay. And during that year-long period until the final completion.
We'll get some more information for you at the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. There's no other questions by the members. We'll open public comment. Deborah, any public comments on this item?
There are none, Chair.
Very good. We'll close public comment and then receive that report. Thank you very much for the presentation and the answers to questions. We will move to item 11. This is the work plan and schedule for 2024 and 2025. Chris Metzger.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and cover it.
Okay.
So it's in your packet. So it shows the items that we're planning for the next meeting in November. Some of the things we've already talked about, like the more details on the 101-25 activities, right? And I think Benito, we're scheduled to do an update or a presentation on the Rural County Task Force report that was mentioned at the last meeting. So those are the main items for the next meeting. And then we took a stab at items and assuming like the same February, May, August, September-ish timeframe, November schedule for next year. Mm-hmm. And so, and listed some of the items. I think I didn't mention here, but high-speed rail update at the next meeting as well. I don't see it on here, but we'll make sure that that's on there. And so that's pretty much it.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions by the members on that item? I'll open it to public comment. Any public comment on that item?
There are none.
There being none, we'll close public comment and we will, this is an action item, so I'm looking for a motion to approve. So moved by Member Morales.
Second.
Second by Member Blankley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There being none?
Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you so much. With that being said, meeting adjourned. Thank you.